Doesn't seem possible, does it? 1 year since Harvey destroyed homes and lives, and tonight we look at where we are now and how far some still have to go.
A new survey is shedding some light at where families are in their recovery process. Marcelino Benito breaks down the numbers.
Hurricane Harvey barreled into Texas last year and in one way or another forever changed 24 counties, including Harris. 3 months after the storm, the EHF KFF survey found 56% of people impacted felt life was almost back to normal. 11 months since the storm, that number up to 70%. Good news, sure, but don't let that fool you. Harvey left its mark. Nearly a quarter say their personal financial situation is worse now, but the hurricane's impact was a lot more than money. 16% say they've developed a new worsening health condition, but even more people say it's their mental health that suffered, with conditions like depression, stress, and insomnia topping the list. 6% of people reported an increased use of alcohol in the year since Harvey. 17% of people impacted say their overall quality of life is worse because of the storm. But here's the figure that should touch us all. 1 year after this deadly and historic storm, 40% of our neighbors still feel they're not getting the help they need to fully recover. This number hasn't changed since storm survivors were surveyed 3 months after Harvey.